Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
And guess what, guys?
I brought you bubbles.
I did not know there were going to be bubbles.
I was going to have bubbles. I hid them from her.
We're in the same room. We're so excited.
We have wine. Cheers. Maybe don't drink it yet. I need to sit for a second.
No, it's good.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of an old wine.
I mean, some people drink 1950s bottles of wine.
I'm not people.
It's a 2018 that she's had for a year. That's not even an old wine.
Longer than that. I'm pretty sure I moved it from my last apartment to this apartment. And I moved in April. So I've had it over a year probably.
I have bottles of wine that I don't remember where I got them.
You drink wine differently though. So
I'm a sophisticated bitch. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not my turn to name the episode. So how was your week?
It was, I'm gonna wake up all of my neighbors. It is midnight.
That was the first sip of wine we've had also.
Yes, we have not been drinking. How was my week? That's what you asked me.
Yes.
I think it was fine. I feel like I don't remember what I did this week. Oh, I was off Monday for President's Day and didn't have a great day, so I slept most of the day.
Fair.
No reason. Just slept. Went back to work for a few days and worked at the bar Thursday, and we were slammed.
Were you?
We had these guys come in that like spoiler alert, if you work for like a company, you can make 3 times that working at a bar. Like, it is insane, especially like a Times Square bar. So Thursday night we had the entire back was booked up.
Yeah.
We had 3 servers, and then one of them, we had like 1 table left open that would fit like 6 people. And we had these like 10 guys come in that were like older gentlemen, and they were like, we really want a table. And I was like, I guess I had like just walked to the door. I was like, I guess I could take you here. Their tab was $1,000. So we had a good night at the bar.
Sounds great.
And I'm working 3 days next week, which
Yay.
I'm very excited to be back in the bar more often because I have been bored and just spending a lot of money, which is fine.
Boredom, who is she?
Right. I can't just like stop when I don't have things to do. I just do other things. How's your week?
It was great. I went to Florida to visit my brother and his fiance. I slept a lot. Just enjoyed the heat that I haven't felt in months. Saw my grandma. Watched Encanto for the 400th time.
Still haven't seen it.
Rude.
You know.
Drove overnight, multiple hour trips. The drive from my house to my brother's house is 21 hours. And I left straight from work on Friday to do that at 6:00 at night. But that trip, my mom was with me and we took shifts. So like I drove for 6 hours while she like slept, and then she drove for 6 hours while I slept, and like we went back and forth. But then last night I left my grandma's and my uncle's house at 9:30 at night and drove to New York City to see Courtney.
So you can imagine all day I've been like, are you alive?
Which of course I can barely answer because I'm driving.
Right. So I just like send a message and then just like wait. And I'm like, she'll tell me if she's alive and where she's at.
Yes.
I looked at your like map on Snapchat to make sure you were like making progress.
Yes.
The last place it showed you stop that was like Maryland or something, and you were like already in DC, and I was like, okay, well,
Maryland's after DC.
Oh, it was after I talked to you at DC.
Oh, I was like,
you were about to be at the tunnel.
Oh yeah,
that's what it was. And I was like, you are not in Maryland anymore. But
no, because I didn't open my phone while driving because I actually for the most part, I'm a fairly responsible driver. I will pick up my phone to change the Pandora station because I'm one of the only fuckers in the world who still uses Pandora. I love Pandora because the thing about Spotify, like I love Spotify, but with Spotify, you have to either pre-make your playlists or like look for ones that like have what you want. Whereas like when I'm like, what do I want to listen to? I just want like drunk, horny, irresponsible. I put 303 Pandora on. Like,
while that is not how I've described it, I too have the 303 Pandora that I frequently listen to.
But isn't that the best? Like, what do you want? What do you want to listen to when you're feeling like you want to recreate the vibe of drunk, horny, irresponsible freshman year of college?
I guess. I don't.
Maybe that's just the vibe I wish my life was right now.
Look, I won't lie. I wish my life was a 303 song, but it's not.
It's not. But I hate to say it. I don't hate to say it. I've been a stan forever. I am feeling the new Justin Bieber.
Really? I have not listened to it.
Oh, it's like Justin Bieber and Avril Lavigne are the two artists that I feel like they have evolved with me. Mm-hmm. So like I've always been emotionally in the same place that they are when they're making music.
So I also evolved with you as we are the same age, and I feel that way about Avril. I do not feel that way about Justin Bieber. I don't know. I don't understand it.
But Avril Lavigne's new album came out today.
Did it?
Yeah, Montana and I were texting about it earlier. She was like, my emo self is living. I was like, I am obsessed.
We're jamming to this tomorrow. Did you jam to it today?
A little bit.
What do you think?
I love it.
It's like original Avril, right?
It's more like it's still got the like more.
Like she's an adult now.
Yeah, it's more like her third album with more of because the first album is complicated and really like sad grunge, like acoustic guitar kind of stuff, which obviously like love it. Then second album is
the girlfriend was third.
Yes, no. The second album. The problem with the second album, I can never remember the name because the name is not one of the songs. It's just a name, and I can never remember what it's called. But that's the one with like My Happy Ending.
No, that's complicated.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Dude.
I promise you it's not. The first album is like Skater Boy, Complicated.
You're right. My Happy Ending came out next. It's My Happy Ending and Gone. Is that the other song that's on there?
It's like Nobody's Home, I Miss You. It's like it's all the super, super dark stuff. Naked.
Sure, I thought Nobody's Home was on.
Nobody's Home is on the second one.
Look, I gotta do some research.
No,
because
the first album is
my phone might die before I get there.
I'm With You, Skater Boy, Complicated, Let It Go. Oh God, what is the name of the first song?
Under My Skin.
Under My Skin. Yes, but because Under My
she has. I always forget about my.
So
just skip that one.
So the first one is Let Go. Yeah. And then there's Under My Skin, which is like super dark. Then the third one is The Best Damn Thing.
Yeah.
Then Goodbye Lullaby is fourth.
Yeah.
Then Avril Lavigne is fifth.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Head Above Water,
which
I love that song. The album, not so much. The song,
honestly, the album is better than it was because it wasn't a full length album. It's only 6 songs,
but they all were too similar for me.
That's fair.
It wasn't enough diversity.
I Fell in Love with the Devil is my second favorite on that album. And the music video for that is trippy.
Because I could listen to Head Above Water every day, all day.
That was actually, I was scream singing that today. And then I was like, oh my God, the new album came out. But the new album, what is it called? Love Sucks with an X, which is my spirit. Like spelling things that should be CKS with an X is how I survived being a middle schooler. Bite Me is amazing. And but Love It When You Hate Me is my absolute favorite.
You did say that. Mm-hmm.
It was in my Snapchat I sent yesterday. It was like, don't call me baby, I love it when you hate me. But it's because that is me. I only am attracted to people who ignore me and treat me like shit.
I think we all know that.
The problem is, so do some of the guys.
Right. So then they have the upper
So then
hand, which is a shame.
Oh, I gotta get better at controlling them.
Yeah, you do. You got this. I have faith in you. Also, this video may be weird because I don't know where to look. I'm like, do I look at like?
No, I mean,
the
we're gonna look at
audience?
you guys, but we're gonna look at each other.
Or do I
'cause
like?
we're in the same room.
I know it's so weird. I love it. So
Yeah,
I'll just be worried about it, but the rest of the world will be fine. It's fine.
yeah, it's great. But yeah, we are talking today about the series finale of Dead Like Me.
We made it.
We still have to watch the movie. We
We
did make it through the series. We're on season 2, episode 15. I left my notebook in Buffalo, so all my notes are on my phone.
Very well organized.
They are. I typed them and then remembered that I was recording with my computer, which I wasn't supposed to do. We were going to have very nice video quality this week, and then I packed the wrong camera batteries.
Okay.
So, Dad, thanks so much for all the work you did to get me the correct memory cards and extension cords. I took your camera's batteries and not mine.
You can't use your camera this week.
Well, no, because his camera has 2 batteries. You just can't charge it if you used it.
Hope you didn't use it too much.
I don't think he took any videos. Except for he has a little handheld video thing that he can
Like a
attach to
GoPro?
his phone. No, he has a GoPro, but then he has like a thing that like live stream attaches to your phone. It's really
that
cool.
like the people used to use for what's it called? Starts with P.
For what?
On the phones, they used to do these videos that were like live, but it was like an app or something, and they
Oh,
would attach cameras.
yeah, I don't know what that is, but yeah, probably.
I only know because I do not know what it is. But Jeremy really wanted us, me and Caitlin, to use whatever that was to record wishes.
Mm.
R.I.P.
RIP wishes.
R.I.P. Did you see that they did both wishes and the new one together one night?
I love it. I have a very serious problem with the happily ever after, because, and please do not be offended by this if you're a Disney person.
I will be offended.
Everyone who is an American Disney fan is acting like Disney did something magical and special for them with that song and that projection. That song was written for Hong Kong Disneyland's 15th anniversary, and it's part of the stage show in Hong Kong. That's like the nightly, like indoor stage show.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just had Jordan Fisher re-record it and changed it and added like fireworks, and people were like crying, and they were like, it's so beautiful. I'm like, they literally stole it from themselves. They were so lazy that they didn't even copyright someone else. They stole
That's
it
really
from
funny.
themselves. So I don't like the show because I'm like, it's cheap.
That does make sense.
But it's also because
I was like an Instagram show too. Aren't they talking about doing something different?
Probably. I was in Asia when Wishes disappeared and Happily Ever came out, so I had already seen it in Hong Kong and was like, wait a second. I know that song.
I know what's happening here.
Also, the guy who did the male part in the stage show when I was in Hong Kong, I left the theater and was like, I just met my future husband. Never spoke to him again. He was just some actor in Hong Kong, but like when he sang it, I like felt things that I didn't know I could feel.
And you have a lot of emotions. That's saying a lot.
Right.
All right.
Anyway, now that we've just discussed all of the emotional trauma that is my existence, but it's interesting, isn't it? We're going to talk about Dead Like Me, season 2, episode 15, Haunted. It was rated 8.8 stars, which is the highest of the entire series, which I think is fair.
I think it's fair.
It premiered on October 31st, 2004. So my notes say Happy Halloween. And there was no trivia for the day But I decided I was going to use my own trivia, my life event trivia,
Oh.
because do you remember what you were for Halloween in
what,
2004?
What grade was I in again?
It would have been, would have been 12. Or well, no, you would have been 11, turning 12 the next month.
I either was Britney Spears or a cowgirl. I don't remember which year was which.
I was Nancy Drew. And my mom let me use temporary box dye to dye my hair red to be Nancy Drew. And it was the first time this happened. And I've been a ginger ever since.
I love that.
So it has a very significant day for me. Halloween
so
2004
sweet.
was the beginning of me becoming a redhead.
That's also the beginning of me becoming a pop star.
I love
JK.
it.
JK, obviously. But I love that.
The number one song is a new one.
No goodies?
No goodies.
Ooh.
It is My Boo by Usher and Alicia Keys.
That is an excellent song.
Honestly, mid or early to mid 2000s Usher is like
The best Usher.
Peak white girl R&B.
Yeah. I told you I saw him live for free one time.
Oh my God. I just want to see his abs live.
I wasn't that close because I was like, because I'm blind and I was like in the back of the crowd. But every year on New Year's Eve in New Orleans, they do like a free concert outdoors and you go down to the square. It's at Jackson Square and you just like stand with all of the people smoking weed and drinking and whatnot because it smelled very strongly of all of those things. And so we were kind of like, I was with my friend Jess and we're both short. We're about the same height. And so we were like in the back. So I couldn't like see him very well except on the screen until people started filtering out. But he did, for like 20 minutes. It was really good. That was really fun.
That is quite the song to do for 20 minutes. Also,
oh my gosh, it took forever.
Also, to do that song without Lil Jon seems kind of like stupid. It's like
I think he may have had like a track playing in the background or something. I don't really remember. This is a few years back.
who was it? I saw Travis McCoy live and he did that song that him and B.O.B. did, only B.O.B. wasn't there.
Airplanes? Was that
the one that he did? No, it was from the same year, but Travis McCoy and
Travis? Is it Travis?
It's Travis, but when he started doing rap, he changed it to Travis, and I was like, Billionaire. It was Billionaire.
Oh yeah.
He did Billionaire without B.O.B.
That's a
which
choice.
Just means that he did I want to be a billionaire
over and over,
like with a recording of B.O.B.'s raps.
That's so funny.
It was so ghetto.
Sometimes.
And like I did see Travis McCoy live also in Gym Class Heroes in 2008 when he was still dating Katy Perry on Warped Tour when Cupid's Chokehold was.
Did Adam Levine come and sing with him?
No.
He was on that track.
Cupid's Chokehold?
He was on that album. What was the song they did together?
Stereo Love.
Yeah.
No. I'm a weirdo. Anyway, the number one movie was still The Grudge. Which,
film.
I mean, it was Halloween weekend. I don't expect the horror movie to get knocked off by anything else.
Fair.
The blurb for this episode, I have a lot that I would like to discuss about this episode, but some of it I'm going to save for the next episode when we recap the whole season, because this episode proved so many inconsistencies.
So you want me to wait on those?
You can mention them, but
because I've got a few later.
It's Halloween, and Reaper legend has it that the Reapers can be seen as they were when alive. A serial killer stalks a neighborhood. The Reaper is collecting his victims as he goes, George getting the bad guy. Joy and Reggie pay a late-night visit to George's grave. So does George.
So that's all true.
Yes.
But a lot more happened.
Absolutely a lot more happened. But also some of the things that happened in this episode, I think were more interesting for you because you didn't read the blurb first. Like the whole serial killer storyline was not, there was no suspense
Yeah,
because I knew there was a serial killer.
that makes sense.
Like
I did have this.
So I drove 17 hours last night, and then I took a nap while Courtney finished watching the episode. And there was one point where she gasped, and I was like, I feel like, yeah, that should have been my reaction in that moment, but it wasn't because I knew what was happening. It was directed by James Whitmore Jr., who is returning.
What episode did he do? Did you listen?
He did 4 episodes. The first one was Nighthawks, and then he did 2 other episodes this season.
Okay.
And it was written by James Macias and Stephen Gotcha.
As it should be.
Our guest stars were not very big in this episode or in their careers. Anna Maria DeLuise played Dana, the therapist. And her credits include Supernatural, Stargate SG-1, Andromeda, Psych, Pretty Little Liars, and Smallville. And Julianne Christie, who I don't remember who she played, but probably one of the victims.
Was she the first girl?
Oh, no. She was Suzanne, the neighbor.
Mm.
Her credits include NYPD Blue, Smallville, Murder One, Diary of a Serial Killer, which I only wrote because that has been in like every single guest for the show's IMDb. We should probably watch it at some point.
We should.
And she was in Star Trek Next Generation, Star Trek Enterprise, and Star Trek Voyager. She was in Grimm, Lucifer, and The Flash.
Who did she play in Grimm?
I don't know. It was only 1 episode. So
I'm currently watching Grimm.
like I said, none of them were anyone. The only one, Anne Marie, who was the therapist, she was only in 1 episode of Pretty Little Liars, but as Allie's mom.
Oh,
so like hers
okay.
was a memorable character,
yeah.
but like none of the other characters in any of their stuff were memorable.
Makes sense.
The trivia, most of it, not all of it, I'm going to save till the end.
Okay.
So we start the episode with a montage of some weird, creepy Halloween stuff. And we find out that George's favorite holiday was Halloween, not because of normal things, but because she was a weirdo who liked to look into people's houses.
I mean, that is a perk.
It just screams creep.
Well, of course it does. But you're not like curious?
Honestly, no.
Oh, well, maybe I'm a creep then.
I mean, there are certain people that I'm curious about, but kind of, I don't know if this is like a negative thing about me, but I don't think that much about other people. Like, and I don't mean like, obviously, like I care about people a lot, but like, even like I was talking to Teresa the other day about how people that like I work with that I know as like colleagues, in my mind, they're asexual. Like even ones that are married with children, it's not that I'm like, oh, I don't want to think about their sex life. Like they don't have one. It never even crosses my mind to think that they have sex.
That's probably a better way to be.
And so like, no, I don't care what's in other people. Like
I'm just nosy.
I mean, like, I don't know. I wish I was more nosy sometimes, but it doesn't even occur to me to be nosy.
Well, I'm super nosy, so
well,
I got enough for both of
I'm
us.
really nosy about certain people. Like
right.
If I want to know things about you, I will find them out.
Yep.
Like I'm a horrible person.
Because if I go that far.
My middle schoolers, my 8th graders, my favorite kiddos, I was determined to find out all of their middle names. One of them wouldn't tell me his middle name. Everyone else was like, no, this is his middle name. And he was like, no, it's not. No, it's not. So I cross-referenced his father's obituary to make sure it was his middle name.
Could you not have just like looked at his file?
It wasn't in his file. I checked files first.
Why is his middle name not in his files?
It's a private school. We don't have any. We don't have. I mean, maybe it is like in his like legal records, but in like the school directory, if it's not there, it's not there.
Private school. It's a whole different world.
Yeah. Granted, it's not like I just like creepily knew that his father had died. He had talked to me about it.
That's good.
But I was like, I know how to prove he's not lying. Obituaries, which is a concerning thought.
That is a concern. That's the first place you went.
Well, where else was I going to find it? It wasn't in the, I checked the records first. Obituary second.
Records first makes sense. Obituary, it's a leap. Maybe it's because you've been watching Dead Like Me.
Maybe
it's because you're a weirdo. I don't know.
Probably both. Then she continues to talk about Halloween and says that Halloween is amateur night for death.
I love that. I also love Baby George.
Oh, Baby George losing her mind about
this guy not opening the store.
Yeah. I don't even know if I have any notes about that.
It was the very beginning.
I know, but then they go back to it a couple times.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any notes about any of the Baby George scenes.
Just watch out, I do. So okay. I will fill you in because I love Baby George.
Mason and I have very similar ideas about nudity is my next note.
Me and Mason have very different views about nudity.
So apparently Mason and Daisy are in a fight because Mason believes that it is appropriate to walk around his own home naked, and he says a man's house is his castle and he should be comfortable in it. And I am very pro being nude in your own home.
Okay, so I am okay with that, but it's not his home.
I mean, he lives there.
Temporarily he lives there. I said that he should not be naked in other people's apartments or houses.
I also said that I'm obsessed with Daisy's desperate attempt to prove that she isn't in love with him by hating the fact that he's naked, when we all know she doesn't hate it as much as she pretends to.
Yeah.
But to be fair, while eating breakfast, I don't always want to look at balls.
I 100% of the time do not want to while I'm eating breakfast.
I can't say 100%.
I 100% can. I do not care.
You don't ever like breakfast in bed?
I do not care to see anything. I will eat breakfast in bed.
I was not talking about food.
This is why we drink wine.
Anyway. So George says that Mason can stay, but he can't be naked at meal times. That was the compromise they made. And that he has to do something to earn his keep in the house.
I think that is all fair.
Which, okay, it is fair, except for the fact that Mason gave them this house. He, out of the goodness of his heart, gave them that house, and now they're treating him like he is a pariah in his own dead lady's house.
Okay, but he did steal the house first.
The dead lady told him to take whatever he wanted because she liked him and she hated everyone else.
I guess that's fair, but
racist old dead lady who was buried in her own backyard with Ray.
But if you give it away, you can't take it back.
Can you imagine? That's rude. What do you think? Obviously, we know spirits are not in the bodies, but could you imagine what racist old dead lady would think about Ray sharing her backyard death plot?
She would hate it.
So Mason says he's gonna go grocery shopping by stealing Halloween candy.
And Daisy just tells him, she says, "Oh, don't bring children near us." And I was like, I've never related more with you, Daisy. Agreed. Please do not bring children near us.
But oh no, I guess she does hate kids. She tried to leave the school when Rube had the school reap too. No, she just hates children.
Yeah.
So Rube comes up to give them their assignments, and he hands George a masquerade mask.
And it is very timely for where we are in life because it looks like Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
Not Halloween.
Okay, but to be fair, masquerade masks being a huge part of Mardi Gras is a very New Orleans thing and not like an anywhere else thing.
But Stephen Gottschall's from New Orleans. He went to Tulane.
Right. But masquerades for Halloween in medieval Europe were definitely a thing before New Orleans Mardi Gras.
Yeah, but that was more of a New Orleans Mardi Gras mask than like a masquerade.
No, an
mask.
Italian Venetian masquerade mask would be pretty similar to
Really?
that.
Okay.
Yeah. Like that.
I did a masquerade once and we were like really dark masks and like.
Yeah, no, but that like Romeo and Juliet masquerade ball, that would be the kind of masks that they were wearing. So that.
Yeah, but Rube wasn't alive then.
He just went to the Halloween store and bought a fucking mask.
Should have worked harder.
He wanted it to be pretty.
He could have bought a witch's hat.
That wouldn't hide her face.
But not hide her face, you're correct.
Well, the reason she has to hide her face is because there is Reaper legend that on Halloween, Reapers can be seen with their correct faces. Now, here's the thing. We're probably going to have a good 30 minutes of the season 2 wrap-up episode dedicated to what are the Reapers' faces? Because, fun fact, there are certain people who apparently can see them normally anyway.
And there's no rhyme or reason why.
Because Tiffany knew who everyone was.
Yeah. No problems.
Crystal. But I have a theory on that, but I will save that for Wednesday.
Okay.
I have theories on why Tiffany and Crystal are a different story.
I love it. Love it.
But because George has only been dead a year and they are living in her hometown, she's the only one that Rube is worried about needing to cover their face because everyone else has been dead long enough that no one should be recognizing them, which is not 100% true because I mean, Roxy's only been dead 20 years.
Yeah.
Mason's been dead 40.
But maybe she wasn't from there.
Right. Well, obviously Mason wasn't and Daisy wasn't. Rube must have been.
But
not there, but close enough.
Yeah.
That like his family was nearby.
Right.
I don't know. But Roxy arrives in a princess dress.
I've never loved her more. I was so happy to see her in a princess dress.
So was Mason. I wrote his quote where he said, "Roxy, your dress makes me feel funny in my pants."
I don't know if people say things like that.
I'm going to say things like that.
I was just about to give a PSA. Do not say things like that. I guess unless you're MK, you can do what you want.
I'm literally just going to walk up. I'm just going to that's how I'm going to tell people that they look good. I'm going to be like, wow, that outfit makes me feel funny in my pants.
That makes me so uncomfortable.
I think that's my goal, is to make people
not care for that
uncomfortable.
phrase. I do not care for that.
But the thing is, I think it sounds uncomfortable when I say it. I don't think it sounded as uncomfortable when he said it.
I did. I think you just loved him too much.
Maybe. I like to say that the number one red flag in a man is if I'm attracted to them.
That's fair.
I don't know what Roxy is undercover as, but apparently a princess.
I think that's just like her Halloween costume.
But like, who goes undercover as an adult in a full-grown costume?
She just wanted to wear it and make it look like she had a kid because she had to go do her read. But also that was her like job guy. And she knew she was going to steal a kid apparently. So I think she just wanted to look like she was the kid's mom all dressed up and she just wanted to be a princess.
She said she was undercover.
Yeah. Undercover, dressed up for Halloween, and that's the outfit she wanted to wear.
But what was the undercover assignment? I know what the reap was, but what was the
same guy?
Yes.
I thought it was the same guy.
Probably, but also confusing. Then they get their reaps and Rube is leaving. And he's suddenly just like being a huge douche. I wrote, why does Rube suddenly not give a fuck? But then I go, oh, George is also questioning why Rube suddenly doesn't give a fuck. She was like, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be the dad. Like,
I
that's
know. That's so sweet.
and but if she listed what everybody's jobs were. She was like, Daisy is the starlet, the diva. Mason's the fuck up. You're the dad, and Roxy is Roxy. And Tiffany pops over and was like, Roxy's the mom.
Right.
And Mason was like, what do you mean? She's like, she reminds me of my mom. And George was like, oh shit, she kind of reminds me of my mom too.
She's definitely the mom.
Yeah.
I don't think that was her goal in life, but here we are.
No, but like it kind of works. Like if you're gonna have
No, it definitely works.
Although I'm trying to imagine the trauma of growing up in a household with as little love as Roxy and Rube's show. Rube's so good with kids though, so it's totally different.
Yeah.
Which is also why he treats George differently than everybody else, because she's a kid.
And Roxy does have her heartfelt moments.
She does, just while in the middle of calling you a dumbass.
Right. Well, some people need that tough love.
That's true.
Although I did get really sad when they were talking about this, and she was like, "You're the paternal one," and he just said, "Paternal didn't turn out to be such a good thing or such a good gig," and I was like, "Could you watch your daughter die?"
No,
it was so sad.
Then we go to Joy and Reggie, and they're talking about Halloween, and Reggie's being really sassy about pumpkin seeds and trick-or-treating. And basically the whole boil down to the fight is that she thinks that she'll get to see George tonight because that Halloween is when the spirits walk the earth. And Joy was like, I'm bringing this up in therapy. And I was like, that is a horrible thing to say to your child.
It is.
But she says that she's going to dress up as a ghost for Halloween, and she's like, you don't have a ghost costume. She's like, ghosts don't wear costumes. And I was like, incorrect. Every single one of the ghosts wearing a costume right now.
Exactly.
Except for Mason. But Mason's never really wearing clothes that look like clothes.
Exactly. It's not, doesn't count. And I did want to note at this point in the episode, I'm just going to make a few of these comments because we're going to talk more about it on Wednesday. But like we get to this point and we're like, what, like 15 minutes into the episode? And I'm like, this is a really slow start for a whole series finale.
Well, okay. One of the trivia that I wasn't going to bring up till the end, but I think it's fair. The show was not canceled till after this aired.
Okay.
And so according to the IMDb trivia, all of the actors went into this thinking that there was more.
That makes sense.
And there more confirmation. I always knew that part of it was Mandy Patinkin. What I read this week was that Mandy Patinkin did not want to continue the show, and Laura Harris, who plays Daisy Adair, was being picked up for a pilot that then wasn't picked up. And so between that and all the drama with the creative team, it just got canceled, but not until after this was shot and edited. So it was never intended to be the series finale.
That's fair then.
Because I think it's a great season finale.
I agree.
They closed up a lot of this season's loose ends, not the show.
Right. I agree then. I feel better about it. Not as good as if it would have continued and given me more, but
of course. I do still think that even within this season, there was a lot of loose ends that they did not deal with.
There were, but aside from closing, again, this will be something we talk about tomorrow too.
Yeah.
But aside from closing up Rube, I think the big ones were probably closed. There's plenty that were not closed.
And that's fair. Some of them they closed early, like the Daisy and Mason's major story arc was already closed. There was nothing else for them to do.
And I could have like progressed in next season.
Yeah. But like there could have been like more Daisy Mason love affair, but that would have been stupid to start it in a season finale.
Right.
Oh, then the next monologue thing where clearly this was where the commercial was supposed to be. It was after this, but it should have been before this.
Yes, this is whenever I said that's a terrible place for an ad.
So there is another monologue, and George is talking about how ghosts and witches and stuff aren't scary. The scary are oh no, that stuff is make believe. The scary stuff is the real. What I wrote in my notes is not that, but like basically like witches and ghosts and goblins are not scary. It's real people that are scary, which I think is
true.
Totally true.
I agree.
Fiction cannot come up with anything as scary as what human beings have already managed to do.
Yep. Very true.
But this whole monologue is being said over the creepiest scene
of
a man cutting ropes.
Based on the way that this scene was shot, and it was like that yellowed filter.
You thought it was Rube.
I thought it was Rube. I did. Did I say that out loud earlier?
No,
okay,
no.
I didn't know what I said.
I just knew that because if I hadn't read the blurb, I also would have thought it was Rube.
Because I know, which I didn't get an answer to, but I knew that he had done something that night. I was like, is this what he did that night? I know he had a gun still, but like, I was like, is this something he was going to like tie up loose ends on? Or was he going to kill himself? Those were my two thoughts. And
interesting. Yeah, no, unfortunately I did know that it wasn't Rube, but I had that thought also. I was like, if I didn't know the blurb, that would have been my thought also, because the whistling kind of also felt very Rube like.
And it just felt like a different time.
But it also, and I think the reason it felt that way is because the show's never been actually scary before.
Right.
And like, I get that it was this episode aired on Halloween. It was the big season finale. It was like the darkest thing they've ever covered, really. I mean, not true. Like all the stuff that Maisie, that's my ship name for Mason and Daisy. All the Maisie Ray stuff was dark. But like the Reaper's actually having to deal with a death that isn't farcical.
Yeah.
Like they
Murder?
don't do like. Yeah. You would think.
I mean, we had the guy who shot up the building.
That's what I was gonna say. We had the guy who shot up the building, but then like for a team of external deaths, they do a lot of accidental deaths, a lot of suicides, and a lot of like farcical murders. This is like, they haven't covered like dark shit.
Murder, yeah.
They also, the serial killer himself dying. They also haven't covered the bad guy dying. So like, this episode just was like, it took the whole show to a whole different level of dark. So, which is unfortunate because it would have been cool to kind of see them continue that.
Yeah, I would have liked to see that a lot earlier on.
It also didn't fit the tone. It's like, it's hard because like I would like if that was the tone of the show, but it wasn't, and so it felt out of place.
Yeah. And I think aside from it feeling out of place, I think the camera work wasn't done like a horror film should be, because they do use, I guess, a more yellow filter when they do stuff like that, but it's always darker, and this was more of an old-timey yellow filter as opposed to like a horror yellow filter.
I can see that.
And
I didn't feel that way when I watched it though. I felt like it didn't seem as yellow on my TV.
Maybe it was my TV then, because I felt like when you watched the rest of the scenes with him, it felt very much like Halloween, like the original movie.
Yeah, I had that feeling too. I had that Halloween vibe too, like the fact that it was never all like, you didn't see his face until so close to the end of the episode, and like the way he was whistling and all of the outdoor shots, it did have a very John Carpenter feel to it.
Felt right.
But this scene, I think this scene was intentionally trying to throw you off.
Maybe so.
Because I think they kind of wanted you to maybe think it was Rube for a second.
See, I would think that aside from the fact that I feel like we're thinking too much into it, because there's nothing else in this show that they've gone quite that deep on.
Except that they never...
Except Daisy's episode.
But they also still haven't answered what Rube was supposed to be doing that night. And if Stephen Godshaw had the idea that his show was not ending, and he was able, like, look at how dark he took this show.
Yeah.
And because I know what Rube was doing, I can see it headed in that direction.
So I think that could make sense based on the specific writers, because the only other episode that felt like it did a similar style with like following up with something darker and something more abstract that you had to like kind of pay attention to was Nighthawks, and that was also Stephen Gutschall and John Massius.
And it was also James Whitmore Jr. directing it.
So it was the whole like
yeah
shebang still.
Yeah.
And so maybe okay, I could get behind that for this episode simply because of who.
And honestly, if there had been a season 3 and Massius and Gotcha had still been executive producing, I could see them taking the show in this direction.
Oh, 100%. It's very clear that's where they wanted it to go from. Which, like this whole season.
But here's the thing. Again, we'll talk about this when we do. I don't want to talk too much about this. I just want to throw this thought out there. What is the movie going to be? Because the movie's the one thing I haven't seen. I know some of the pieces of the ending of the movie.
Okay.
Because I know like how the stories that I cared about wrapped up, but I never actually watched the movie all the way through. And the cover art of the movie doesn't give me this vibe.
Right. It also doesn't give me this vibe. So if y'all want to let us know what you think, we haven't watched the movie yet.
Yeah.
We will have seen it by the time this comes out. But give us your thoughts and we'll see who's right. Do your own predictions.
Yeah, for sure. Then we go back to the diner and the 4 musketeers in the fatherless family.
It's so depressing.
Well, he's not dead. He's just not
I know,
there.
but that was really sad when you said it.
They're eating candy and complaining about assholes. I had to read that sentence so many times because I thought it said complaining on assholes, and I was like, I don't know what that means.
I also would not know what that meant.
They were complaining about how children are assholes on Halloween. And well, people are assholes on Halloween, but children are even worse.
Yeah.
And speaking of assholes on Halloween, I missed a moment in the diner, in the first diner scene, where Mason did the first time I've ever disapproved of anything Mason has done.
I wouldn't say it's the first time I disapprove, but fair.
He calls these 2 kids over and is like, I'm going to ask you trivia questions. And if you get them right, I don't know what he said he was giving them, but if you get them wrong, you have to give me all your candy. And he asked them about which dead member of the Rolling Stones did something. Now, to be fair, probably would not have known the answer at that age. But first of all, the kids are stupid because Mick Jagger is clearly not dead. And Keith Moon is not even in the Rolling Stones.
I did think that was really funny though, because we have the Who in our catalog. And so I love the ties to my life. It has the Louisiana, it has the bands.
And I was like, honestly, like I'm mad that Mason's trying to rob children, but like children be smarter.
Right, but they are blonde. So like, I guess if you had to rob some children.
Like, I mean, granted, probably would not have come up with, what's his name? Anyway, I don't remember it.
I don't remember it either.
But I would have been able to tell you that Keith Richards and Mick Jagger are the 2 that are still alive.
Keith Moon.
No, Keith Richards and Mick Jagger. Keith Moon's from The Who.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
no.
Keith Moon, who
no,
they said.
Yes, yeah. No. Keith Richards and Mick Jagger are the 2 from the Stones,
right?
Who are definitely not dead.
Yes, correct.
And Keith Moon's not even in the Stones, so he wouldn't have been a part of that conversation.
Right, he should not have been. You're correct.
So honestly, just play Trivia Crack. Like, just for chits, play trivia games. That's why I'm as smart as I am.
Same. So I know so many random facts about things.
But apparently it is like 11 o'clock in the morning and Roxy has already had to deal with a bunch of like hooligan vagrant nonsense, which, like, to be fair, I would also hate Halloween if I was a cop.
Oh, could you imagine?
Like, Halloween as a teacher was bad enough.
Oh. That would be, yeah.
Granted, we didn't do anything. We made an escape room for the kids, and then they wore their
Oh,
costumes,
that's
and we had like
fun.
parties and watched movies and had a parade. If I had to teach them on Halloween, absolutely not.
Hyped up on sugar, running like
Um,
crazy.
When I told them that we weren't having a party for Valentine's Day and that if they wanted to pass out Valentine's, I'd give them 10 minutes at the beginning of class to do it. But because we're in middle school, we don't have to have a party for every holiday. They looked at me like I was going to kill them, like they were going to kill me. And then they were like, what about for the 100th day of school? And I was like, literally no one celebrates that after second grade. They're like, we celebrated it in fourth grade. I go, congratulations. We don't do that in middle school.
I never celebrated the 100th
Neither
day of
did
school.
I absolutely never did, but I definitely wouldn't have done it in middle school.
No.
I suck fun from children's lives for fun.
Excellent. That's what makes you an excellent teacher.
I know. That's why I enjoy Mason.
I also want to tell you one of the lines that George said.
Yeah.
She says, "There's more to Halloween than milk duds and vandalism." And I said, yeah, because those are both terrible things.
Milk duds are amazing. That is okay. Milk duds are a tier 1 candy.
Oh no. Milk duds are trash.
No.
They have dud in the name.
Milk dud is the best caramel candy. There is no caramel candy better than milk duds.
Rolos.
No.
Yes.
Rolos are good, but they are not milk duds.
Milk duds are trash.
We will never agree on this. Milk duds are,
that is okay.
Milk duds are probably the number 1 candy.
In your world?
Literally all of the teachers, when we buy the bags of like mixed candy for the kids, we take the milk duds out before we give them to the kids, and we should have them. Like the teachers at my school, we all just, milk duds are A1 candies. Tier 1.
Agree to disagree.
I will not.
Fine.
I was actually thinking the other day, I was at a grocery store or like at a Rite Aid or something, and I was looking at the candies and I was like, why don't they sell milk duds? Like in the regular, you have to get like movie theater box candy to get milk duds.
Like I love a movie theater box candy.
Same.
Better than a regular box of candy.
That's very fair. Then they were talking about the things that you can do on Halloween. Before she said the vandalism, Mason had a line that was stupid. No, it wasn't stupid. It was stupid because it was beautiful foreshadowing that only worked because I already knew what was going on.
Oh, that's why I missed it then.
He said they were talking about all the things that you can do on Halloween that you can't do on other days. And he said one can even get away with murder.
Oh,
which, if you didn't know that the whole episode was about a serial killer, was just a throwaway line. But knowing it was about a serial killer, I was like, that's a little too on the nose with the foreshadowing.
Gosh, I'm Macias. Man.
A1. Their writing, same level as Milk Duds.
Absolutely incorrect. Absolutely incorrect. See, I thought Danny Fessman and Harry Victor were going to be my top 2. John Macias and Gottschalk, woman out of the water. Sorry, Victor and Fessman.
They had some strong ones, but the end of the season has just been sublime.
It has.
Then we get some more random clips of things that don't make any sense, but they do. And we get a close-up of the shoes of the man in the house that little George went to, and they are the same shoes as the creepy rope man.
I didn't notice that at first.
I did. But again, these details were things that I was picking up on because I knew he was a serial killer. Like if I hadn't known that, I wouldn't have caught them the first time around. Though those are things that are like definitely a second watch through detail.
See, I thought when she kept like bothering this house, I thought whoever was in there was dead.
Oh, I was like the creepy. So my note just says the creepy serial killer was the house George went to ? Because I picked up on the shoes, which obviously George did too.
Right.
But my next note says Mason is a fuckhead because they're at Happy Time and he's stealing bags from people's cubicles to have better Halloween candy bags, which like annoying but fair. Right. But then he starts also putting random like pictures in the bag. So now he's just stealing things.
Right. Now
Like-
he's just stealing to steal things. Yeah.
It was like he had a justification that like I disagreed with, but like was gonna let him have. And then he continued to be stupid. And I was like, come on. Oh, and then he just gets really weird about people dying. And it felt very out of place. Like it was a really sweet moment with George and Mason.
Yeah.
But it was one of the moments that I was like, this is the literal only moment of this entire episode that feels like they know the show's ending.
Oh, are you talking about when he was like, I don't hang around with people who haven't been dead for years?
Well,
or-
because he was talking about like, why do people ask you if you've known the deceased? Does anybody really know the deceased? No, I haven't known the deceased. Like I met her 3 minutes ago, and he like is having like an existential crisis about reaping people. And then like him and George are talking about how long she was dead and if people knew her. And they're like, I only want to be around dead people that have been dead for a really long time. And like they have this little moment where he's like, yeah, I only want to know people who have been dead a long time, well, except for you. And they have this whole like really like existential crisis-y bonding moment. And I was like, it was a great moment, but it was literally the only 3 minutes of the episode that felt like they knew it was a series finale.
See, I took this scene, I see where you're coming from, but I took this scene as like, again, Matthews and Gottschall trying to follow up by writing George and Mason's friendship.
And no, and I for sure agree, but the content of it was weird. Like George and Mason having a friendship and bonding over weird things was totally fine. And even the last line about only wanting to be with dead people, well, except you. But it was the whole like breakdown of Law and Order and deceased people, and do we even know people who are dead? Like that whole conversation was like, I know that I'm never gonna have a chance to talk about these feelings of dread ever again.
Well, I wonder like if that was supposed to be a follow-up to when he thought he was gonna die, and you know, so he's been having this kind of crisis since,
right? But they didn't do anything with it last episode.
Well, if they didn't realize this was gonna be the last one, maybe this was just another add-in, you know.
I guess it just felt so out of place in this episode. Like it didn't feel out of place for Mason, it just felt out of place in the episode.
I don't think that's fair.
And then Crystal scares the absolute shit out of them because they think that they're alone in happy time, and then they see a Grim Reaper, only it's a costume and it's Crystal.
Crystal's around. I love Crystal. She is like my favorite person on the series. I adore her.
Crystal has a weird tracking map on her computer that shows the hotspots of Halloween candy, which like Mason is quite literally a crackhead. I understand why he cares. What the fuck is Crystal gonna do with that candy?
What is she gonna do with those gazillions of post-it notes she stole?
Crystal needs a spinoff.
Crystal does.
Except for that, I think Crystal's spinoff would be too disturbing to watch.
I don't think so. Not for me. I think maybe for other people. I have some comments about Crystal that you'll hear in the next episode. So stay tuned.
Then we go to Reggie and her therapist.
Hold up.
Oh, did I miss something?
You did, because at this point I have very big capital letters during Crystal's scene, because Crystal is like really chill with them being there. Again, I know we mentioned head on that like she recognizes them and everything, but then she types into the computer Georgia Lass, and it says user unknown or something, or user no longer here. And I was like, I bet she knows it's George, and I bet she's known it's George.
Again, I have my theories about Crystal for next episode.
Gotcha.
That's why I said at the beginning of this episode, I have a lot to say about some of this stuff, but I want to save it because I have theories about Crystal.
Gotcha.
But again, that goes into the what do people see on Halloween? Because she puts the mask up to hide her face from Crystal, but obviously not fast enough because she didn't know Crystal was there. Then we go to Reggie's therapy scene, and this is quite honestly like just a shit show.
It is.
And
it's a disaster.
But Reggie doesn't want to talk, and the therapist is like trying to ask her questions, and she's like, do you have any Halloween candy? It's Halloween. And And Molly Joy gets mad at her. And Reggie goes, what? Crazy girls don't need chocolate.
I wrote that down.
I was like, no, they actually need it more.
They do. I will be here to say yes.
Then honestly, the whole dialogue of the scene just got me. Like, therapist says that she believes in ghosts, which love it. Love to see it. And then Reggie says, I'd rather talk about my parents' divorce ruining my childhood.
I thought that was so funny. I'm sorry, it's hilarious. But she also, they were talking about why George liked Halloween, and she said she just liked spying on other people. Like, George was, I mean, Reggie was just like hitting it this episode.
And then Reggie goes to go get some Kit Kats, and we find out that Joy is honestly, like, Joy's overreacting as Joy always does, but she's not actually overreacting about Reggie. She's really stressed out about money.
Right.
And
which is fair.
And she said, I don't think therapy is going to bring my daughter back. And the therapist says, which daughter are you trying to bring back?
I know.
I was like,
my Joy needs therapy.
I was like,
too.
Joy's the one who needs therapy. Like, obviously, like, no, Reggie does need therapy. Actually, right. I think everyone needs therapy. I was just talking about today about how everyone should go to therapy. But Joy clearly needs it more than Reggie does, because Reggie is like openly talking about the things that are upsetting her and like the things that she believes, and they might not be real. She might be delusionally grieving in a way that is not necessarily healthy, but she's grieving, right? And Joy is like not acknowledging it. Yeah, Joy is not even acknowledging her grief.
Right.
Then we see Rube apparently trick-or-treating, but really he's at his reap, and he's pretending to be from the sugar awareness something or other to like discuss Halloween candy. And the girl at the reap is like, why would you choose Halloween to do this? He was like, it's the only time people open their door for strangers. And I was like, fair point.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I just have a couple survey questions. Apples, healthy alternative, or what did he say? Or he said, or a liberal con.
Oh yeah,
like a liberal con. And I was like,
oh gosh, well, that was so funny.
That was so like explained Rube so much without ever actually explaining him. And I was like, I appreciate this. That was good writing.
Yeah, that was.
And then I just got uncomfortable because I hate everything about what happened.
I also do, but also this was the moment that I realized it was not Rube we were seeing. It's like, yeah. Okay.
So serial killer comes, kills the girl, blows out the candle in the pumpkin.
Yeah.
Which is the Edvard Munch scream face. And I just was like, I fucking hate it here. I was like, this is like actually horrifying. The show is not supposed to be actually horrifying.
But she's murdered, but at least the house didn't burn down.
Well, you know. I had an issue with that because I liked the touch from the serial killer's end, like that is his signature kind of thing. But how many people actually put candles in their pumpkins like that?
Oh, no, people do.
Oh, I've never seen.
People do back home.
You live in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
Okay. I just like when I was a kid, I like trick-or-treated in a suburb and everything. Like my grandma's neighborhood, people would have pumpkins, but they either would have like electric light candles or like they wouldn't be lit. Yeah. Like maybe you'd have like one or two houses that had real candles, but like actually having every house on the block have one candle lit pumpkin that you could do that with is like somebody. I know he works for the HOA.
He has to.
Like that's how else does that happen?
But I also think that like if I think they were pulling a lot from John Carpenter doing this like Halloween,
right?
And it would have been a real lit candle in Halloween.
No, for sure.
So I think that also might be why they chose.
They also didn't have battery candles in the 70s,
right?
yeah, I don't know. It was just one of those things where I was like, I appreciated it on a cinematic level, but trying to think about it analytically, I was like, that's not going to happen. Like, you're not going to have a neighborhood where that actually works out.
Unless you're in the South.
But even then, in the South, are you going to have that many people that like are alone in their house on Halloween and can get away with?
Oh, probably not alone, but
Right, like how many, like the serial killer works by only killing people that were completely alone on Halloween. How do you have that many houses in one neighborhood where that happens?
That's true. That's fair.
Then we go back to the diner where Daisy has decided her Halloween costume is going to be a police officer. And she is arguing with Roxy about Roxy giving her gun. And she said, a girl needs accessories. That was my favorite part. She was like, I need the gun because a girl needs accessories. And I was like, I don't consider a firearm to be an accessory.
I also do not.
Like, I'm all for you having one if you are trained and comfortable and aware of what to do with one. But if you think of it as an accessory, you're probably not trained and comfortable and aware of what to do with one.
Exactly. Like, I have a concealed carry license and I do not have a gun here because New York has very difficult laws. And
New York,
honestly,
I don't have a concealed carry license because of New York.
I honestly didn't feel like doing paperwork. I know that's like so lame and a cop out, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And but I never like would think of it as an accessory.
To be fair, the gun that I want to buy is cute.
Well, that's different.
But it's just because, like, if I have to have one, why have an ugly one?
Right.
Of course I don't have one because I don't have a license, and I'm not just going to buy it for no reason without a license because that's illegal.
Yes. Yes.
I do not endorse crime. We
do not
think that people should be able to defend themselves in whatever way that they deem necessary and appropriate for their situation. Mine is my dad.
Mine is my pure willpower.
I now have that 20% concentrated power of will. Yeah, anyway, I listened to a lot of music today because I spent 17 hours in the car, and so like I think every song that ever played in the last. Did you know there's a weird remix of Toxic by Britney Spears?
There's a couple of them.
I thought it was only on TikTok, but it's on the radio.
Yeah, there's a couple of them.
I hate it.
Me too.
Anyway, Tiffany is playing along with Daisy's charade and gives her free coffee because cops drink coffee free, and that was a completely unnecessary but so important touch to that episode.
It was.
And then also unnecessary but important to probably no one other than the two of us and whoever thought that we were going to have a third season of the show. An old man walks in the bar and fully recognizes Daisy and like knows very specific details about her life.
Yeah. And I thought we're gonna get it. We didn't get anything about her more.
No, we just got proof that she wasn't lying.
I mean,
well, like we knew her death itself wasn't a lie, but like the fact that she had all these famous bows and that she did all this stuff, like the guy
believed it though,
like I know, but like there was always that part of Roxy who was like, shut up.
Right.
But this guy was like, no,
I know. That
was real. That happened. I saw it. You look just like her. And Daisy's like, that's awkward. I clearly didn't. I'm not someone who died in 1939.
Right.
Oh. Yeah. But also of everyone in that group to have someone alive that recognizes them.
Yeah.
Roxy died in 1985, 84, 85. Mason died in 1967 or no, 68, yeah. 1939. An old fucking man who knows intimate details of her life.
And he worked with her and they both ended up in Seattle.
Because also like she was a nobody. Like yes, she was like pretty, but like she was a nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And he remembered her name and how she died. Like
And I would have thought that, like, if she remembered him, she would have reacted differently. Like, not that she would have said something to him, but I would have thought she would have had, like, her face would have gone a little more pale, or she would have gone.
Yeah, no, she just was
'Cause she's
uncomfortable
so,
with the idea
like-
of somebody recognizing her.
Right. Because she's so, like, emotional and connected to everyone that she would have had a reaction if she had known it.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, and that's when I said the Reaper legend is true, which means Crystal was totally playing along. I will go more into my Crystal questions, concerns, and comments next episode because there are a lot of them.
I'm ready.
One of the major ones that I would like our listeners to think about and write in is, what the fuck is Mason look like? Because we did see what his real face looked like in the first episode, like his not Reaper face.
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that. Gosh, that was ages ago.
But like, yeah. Anyway, then speaking of Mason's face, Mason and George go trick-or-treating to get their wreath, but also mostly to steal candy. And Mason drinks a goblet full of dry ice, which, let's just be clear here, would have killed him.
Yes, would have killed anyone.
100%. The fact that that girl doesn't react in any way except for to say that their costumes are not good enough doesn't make a lick of fucking sense.
No.
Because what do you mean you don't believe he's a ghost? He just drank dry ice, turned into Scooby-Doo on fucking Spooky Island face. You've seen that movie, right?
Yes.
Okay. The Scooby-Doo on Spooky Island, when the spirit comes in and their faces aren't connected correctly, that happens to his fucking face. And then he just turns around and asks for some candy. And you have the nerve to say that his costume is not good.
Right. So that was illogical. But the way this scene was shot was dreadful. That's
what I'm telling
so
you. It looked
cartoonish.
like Scooby-Doo Spooky Island.
It was so cartoonish. And it was like, did not fit this show. And I was just like, this was such an unnecessary way to do this. Like,
and it also like was just an unnecessary scene in general.
Mhm.
Like it didn't add anything to anything.
it didn't. Not a lick.
Except for to show us that apparently when Reapers drink dry ice, it comes out of their ears.
Right. Because like we already knew they couldn't die. And you're not supposed to show other people that they can't die. So like,
and then apparently, despite the fact that there was no pineapple on the porch, it is a swinger house. And this girl walks out in lingerie and starts smoking a cigarette on the porch with children.
well, was it a swinger house or was it an orgy?
I mean, why not both?
Because there's no pineapple.
Fair.
And there was a guy who walked in by himself.
Fair. But that's where my note that I told you earlier that says, but like Mason, you asked for the wrong thing. we all know Mason asked for the wrong kind of candy.
Yeah, for sure.
Then we go to Daisy's Reap, which is just like the sweetest old lady with oregano roasted pumpkin seeds.
I was like, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And it would kill you.
Why would it kill you?
You.
No.
You can't have pumpkin seeds?
I've never tried, but no, like I can eat sunflower seeds. Seeds that themselves break down are fine. It's seeds that are like hard seeds that don't, like poppy seeds, strawberry seeds, banana seeds, like hard and small. Those are like the worst ones.
I guess you could have these then.
Yeah, like I eat sunflower seeds. I eat nuts. Of course, I don't think that will last forever because like my mom can't eat nuts as much without getting sick now. So like one day I will not be able to eat nuts anymore.
Better as many nuts as you want right now. Jesus Christ.
For our audio only listeners, I made a face.
Ugh. Every time.
I'm 12.
Maybe.
I just spend a lot of time with 12-year-old boys.
That's true.
So sometimes I don't mean to just be stuck entirely in the gutter. But here we are.
So
Oh yeah, and then Daisy's reaction to the serial killer doesn't make sense to me. Because she just like lets the guy walk in the house and kill this very sweet, adorable old lady while dressed as a cop. I know she has to, but like you saw her reaction to like the domestic violence, like.
But that was different. She has a connection to domestic violence. She doesn't have a connection to either this woman or serial killers. It's not the same.
I know it's not the same. It just seems out of place for her to just walk away like that. You know what I mean? Like she's never the Reaper who leaves and lets the body come to her. She like is always right there. She's always way more involved. And she had such like instant connection with that sweet old lady that like her just like walking away and letting it happen felt un-Daisy like.
Well, I think it was her way of showing like she couldn't deal with it. And like she walked away because she knew she had to let it happen, but she wasn't going to wait for this guy. He was going to have to find his own way because she didn't care for him. Because like every other person that she's helped after they died, that person wasn't the one she was mad at.
Yeah, no, but he wasn't her Reap. The old lady was. She abandoned. I know. Yeah, but she abandoned the old lady.
Oh, you're right.
That's what I didn't believe, that she would just leave the old lady.
I agree.
It felt off.
For some reason, I thought it was.
No,
even though I know that's not the case.
That's not the case because that happens later, and that was deserved. But this old lady, like,
you were correct.
It didn't feel right. Like Rube waited at the house.
Yeah, everyone waited.
She walked away, and that doesn't feel like Daisy.
No,
I had a problem with that. I wrote Joe and I meant to write Joy. I was typing really fast, apparently. Joy is cleaning her house because she is going to show it again because she's broke. And
because this was not supposed to be the last episode.
Right. Reggie is obviously not thrilled. And then we meet my absolute favorite human, who I wish had been in more episodes, Suzanne the Neighbor.
And I just put, who is Suzanne?
Suzanne is their neighbor who is apparently really good friends with Joy and bakes her and makes her sugar skulls and hugs her and kisses her on the cheek and like talks about things that like, and talks about like missing George. So she was like close. So that's,
and we have no idea who she is.
But she is explaining Dia de los Muertos. And I wrote, Dia de los Muertos is beautiful, and I love Suzanne.
It is beautiful, but it's not quite the way when she started explaining it, she was like, it's like Halloween. And I was like, it's not really. But then she did go on and say it was the like, how do I explain this to a 12-year-old thing? Like it was, because they don't really, in Mexico, they don't really celebrate Halloween the way and honestly, in nowhere do they celebrate Halloween the way Americans do. So like it is their Halloween-ish because it's the same time and the same overarching concept, but it's a very different emotional connection to said overarching concept. You're a Reaper. Then it's kind of similar.
I will say in Thailand, Halloween exists only to be like, hey, Americans wear costumes. Can we wear costumes too? Like they have zero concept of it.
I think that's how a lot of the rest of the world
is. It's like, it's not even a thing. They like want to know why they don't get candy because in the movies the kids get candy. Like, but they have it doesn't, but it's the same as like Christmas. They get presents on Christmas because in movies they see people doing that. But like conceptually it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Christmas is just like the week before New Year's, and New Year's is a big thing. But in Thailand they celebrate the regular New Year's and the Lunar New Year. So like
I was about to say, I didn't know which one.
No, they celebrate both.
Okay.
And then they also have Thai New Year, which is in April. So like they just get presents all the time.
They refresh a lot. Look. So we should probably refresh.
No, I just have problems with the Thai government that I can now say that I don't live there anymore.
Yes, you can.
I used to not be able to because fascism. Anyway, I said, does this mean Joy used to be a real person? Her interactions with Suzanne, I was like, oh, like so she had to have been a real person at some point.
Yes.
Then we go back out to the town.
Wait.
Oh, do you have comment about Suzanne?
She was talking about her party she's having that night.
Oh, yes.
And she says, it's going to be very mellow with tequila and flan. I was like, that doesn't.
No. Tequila, flan, and older single men.
Yes. And I was like,
that
I don't know if that's
I don't know how
mellow.
how are you celebrating Dios de los Muertos culturally appropriately and doing all of those things?
Right.
Like, and it's mellow.
Right.
Basically, Suzanne is the divorcee drunk neighbor who has any excuse to have a party, but it needs to be different.
She does a lot of pot.
Oh, that's true. Joy does say that Suzanne smokes a lot of pot. But like, you know, that one person who's like, I'm also having a party, but like, it's not for the same reason you're having a party. That's Suzanne.
Different.
I'm different.
Yeah.
I'm just in tune with all of the people all around me. Like, I just want to be connected.
Yeah. Spiritually, I understand them.
It's so beautiful.
Clearly, we are not those people.
I honestly love Suzanne, but I also think that she's a little bit of like that person.
I 100% would not be able to be friends with her. She would annoy me so bad. I like her as a person and she is fine to exist, but I could not spend enough time with her doing this.
That's totally fair.
I'd be so like, I have very low.
It's kind of like every single girl ever who has gone to Thailand or Indonesia to find their eat, pray, love.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. Then we go back to the village, town, the city, whatever this nonsense is, and Dolores Herbig.
It's like a suburb.
Yeah, I know, but I
normal.
No, it is. It is. What's not normal is
nonsense.
I didn't know what to call. Well, because it is a suburb, but it's a very small area. Like that's why I was like, is it a town? Because like it appears to be a suburb of the greater Seattle area.
Right.
Only like they're only ever in the same 4 blocks.
Right.
So like not really.
Which is really funny.
Dolores Herbig and her big brown eyes.
God bless her.
Apparently works for an orphan shelter, a homeless shelter, to take homeless and or orphaned children trick-or-treating.
And I realized how little we've had of Dolores this episode. And by that I mean we had none until now. And I was so sad.
I adore her.
Same.
Her cut. Here's the thing. I think I figured out why I love Dolores so much.
Oh gosh.
Her scandalousness is different. That's totally different. But so my great aunt is a nun.
Okay.
So that's why I mean, like, not all parts of Dolores,
right.
But my great aunt is a nun. And she has like, this woman, she decided to be a nun while she was still in high school, had a boyfriend in high school and told him that they could continue dating through high school. But as soon as she graduated, she was going to take the classes to become a nun. And so he was never going to marry her. So it was up to him if he wasted high school with her. Like, she was so like sat on it. This is what she wanted to do. And she's went to school to be an English teacher. She's always worked with kids. And like the like just complete naive earnesty of like the costumes and like totally putting everything into it and being shocked that people would ever double cross you, because like that's not what people are supposed to do. Like that, the genuineness of how much Dolores doesn't like. And it's funny because Dolores is like, I smoked crack, but also how could someone ever steal my wallet? Like,
right.
Like she like doesn't. So like take out the crack smoking part of it. And that is my aunt. And so like, I think I finally figured out when I was seeing her in that costume that that's why I love her so much, is because my aunt who like will text me like gifs of Snoopy and be like, don't you hope you have a snow day tomorrow? And I was like that is Dolores Herbig, like 100%.
That's amazing.
So including the costume.
Right. I love that. Also, a lot of times your stories do not go where I'm expecting them to go. You went from why do I love Dolores so much to okay, so my aunt is a nun.
You were like, where? are the pieces.
These things do not equal each other.
But they
They do. We just had to get there. We took out the crack. I follow now. And I would assume sleeping with homeless men is also
absolutely removed. That was definitely not
okay.
a part of her journey with Christ.
Yes.
But then Roxy steals one of Dolores's children.
She doesn't even notice it first.
Roxy's like, "Oh, come here. You're with me now."
Yeah.
And uses him to help with her reap, because unlike some of her friends, she doesn't assume that grown adults can just go trick-or-treating and have it not be weird.
Right.
And then I said Roxy is just so good at her job, it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
Like both of her jobs. Because that interaction that she had with her reap was really, really sad. But don't worry, we don't get to linger on that sad moment for long, because here comes Dolores running down the street screaming that one of her children is missing.
That group just running together.
And when they find the child, Roxy explains what happened. And Dolores says my absolute favorite line of the entire series of Dead Like Me. She says, "Liquor bonbons were my gateway drug. Bag check."
I've never had a liquor candy. I think I'd love them.
I have, and they're wonderful.
I want a liquor chocolate.
There's not enough liquor in them to get anyone drunk.
That's fine. That's fine. I'll have wine with my
perfect
liquor chocolate.
Then we go to a super, super, super depressing moment where I realized that all of the shittiest, saddest reaps in the whole show are Mason's.
Every time.
Every fucking time. Mason's reap is this little boy who is sick and his parents are not home, and he's not allowed to go trick-or-treating because he's sick. And so Mason gives him all of his candy.
But before he does that, he says, "Do you know what a Brit is?" He's like, no, he's like, Cam Brit. That was his costume. And he says, when he gives the kid his candy, he was like, "I'm not supposed to take candy from strangers." He says, "I'm not a stranger. You know me. I'm a Brit. I'm not a monster." And I laughed so hard because I was like, some people would disagree. I have nothing against British people, but the Irish and Welsh people I work with, on the other hand, do. And one of the bartenders is Welsh, and the other day, somebody was trying to guess where he was from. They were like, "Are you from Ireland? Are you from Scotland?" And he's like, "No." And then I guess someone said England, because all I heard from across the bar was, "I'm sure as hell not English." I was just like,
as someone who is very English, I take offense to that a little bit.
Well, maybe don't tell anybody at the Irish pub that you're English.
That my family is straight Mayflower English. Like, I can open the book about the people on the Mayflower and show you which ones are my family.
Yeah, I did my 23andMe, and I'm like half English, half Irish. And I told Becca, who's one of my best friends I work with, and she just called me a peasant. She was like,
I mean, technically I am, because my English family was the servant of the first governor of like my family came over on the Mayflower as indentured servants. Right. Like, let's be clear here. We had no money.
Yeah. Well, my family like backlog was like German and Irish. So I'm sure the British were like, the Brits came from them being taken in by the
I am convinced though that I will be able to trace my lineage to the royal family. But also, I'm pretty sure that if past lives exist, I was Anne Boleyn in a past life, which I know a lot of people say, and I'm sure she's a really popular one to steal like credit from. But my obsession with her began at an age that is not healthy or normal for an obsession with someone of that like magnitude. To like, it's like I was watching like the Donut Man and VeggieTales and telling you all of the facts about Henry VIII's wife. Like, I was a weird child.
Yeah. I always thought it'd be fun to do a past life regression, but I'm also a little nervous. But also, I think they just be like, "You were the same person." 17 times. Nothing really happened in your life. You're fine.
I once actually, the first time I ever went to a psychic, she did a past life regression, and she was like, in all of your past lives, you were a teacher. And I was like, ha ha ha, fuck off, because this was when I didn't think this was like right after I dropped my education certification in my bachelor's. I was like, I'm not a teacher.
I wonder, now I want to do that. I've never been to a psychic.
You don't need one. You got me. Just kidding. I'm not a psychic.
No, but she is going to read my tarot cards later. So
that's true.
Maybe we'll talk about that
maybe
on an episode.
Oh, I should talk about the 2022, the 2 Tuesday. Did you see any videos about that? Anyway.
No, I was busy on Tuesday.
It was a weird spirit portal day.
Oh, well, we can chat about that in our next episode, maybe, before we get
maybe, because this episode is already so long.
It is. Put us together. We've never stopped talking. We thought we were bad on a screen.
Right. But also, this is like the season finale. It's a big one. There's a lot to say.
It is. And I think I only have like 1.5 pages of notes left.
Oh, I'm pretty close.
Oh, I only have like 1 page.
No, I'm close to the end of my notes. George remembers the serial killer's shoes, and that is
where
creepy.
I gasped. This is where I gasped, and I just put my face in the George flashback. None of you could see it. MK couldn't even see it. She was napping.
Yeah.
But my face dropped. I was like, what just happened? Because I didn't, like, obviously at this point I'd figured out there was a serial killer killing people.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that it was the same guy that she saw.
Then we go back to the last house where Joy is dressed up sexy for her party.
I love Joy.
I do too. And Reggie is too busy trying to burn the house down.
I also love Reggie. I will say,
I've definitely forgotten that I had things in the oven before.
Oh, I mean, who hasn't? I put brownies in the oven one time at 3 a.m. and then went to sleep, and Tyler had to pull them out. I have no idea how long those sunflower seeds were, or those pumpkin seeds were in the oven to be on that much on fire. Right, it has to take a while. You leave them in there for a while. What
temperature did you put them on?
I mean, not 350.
If you're baking pumpkin seeds, they should be at a really low temperature for a really long time.
1,000 hours.
Like it's just like super, super, super low heat for a long time. Yeah. That oven should not have been able to catch on fire.
I think I couldn't figure out if they were trying to do this or not. And I was like, maybe Reggie was trying to cause an issue for selling the house. And then I was like, maybe she wasn't, but maybe Joy thought that.
Well, Joy definitely thought that.
And so I was like, I
think Reggie just genuinely forgot. Like I thought Reggie just genuinely forgot. My question was, what the fuck did Joy put the oven at?
Well, Reggie did it.
Okay, well, then they're both idiots. Joy should have left clearer directions. She's 12. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you, there's a lot of times when I'm
on 15.
I know, but there's a lot of times when I'm like, I don't know why they're acting like that. She's 12. Baking something that you've never made before by yourself, no, I leave directions. Like that doesn't, yeah.
I made a lot of weird stuff as a kid. That was one of my favorite like hobbies as a child, was just to like make weird foods. My poor parents.
I made pancakes for my brothers and sisters once when I was 12 or 13, and they still have not let it go to this day that I didn't cook them all the way through, so there was batter in the middle.
I mean, I've done that as an adult.
I know, but like I made my own batter too. Like I didn't Bisquick like box pancake. I made my own batter from scratch, and so it was thicker than a box.
Oh
so
no, I did weird stuff. Like I tried to I thought you could put marshmallows in the microwave to make marshmallow cream. You cannot. It makes them hard as a rock. I put like sprinkles. Or they explode. Mine became hard as a rock because I didn't leave them there like terribly long. I would put sprinkles and random stuff, Kool-Aid packets, anything. Anything I made had a Kool-Aid packet in it.
Made, and by once, I mean, this was literally 4 years ago. My friend Sierra and I made Easter Rice Krispies with Peeps. Followed a recipe that we saw online to make Easter Rice Krispies with Peeps so that there's like the color in them. Fun fact, I don't know how the fuck the person on the internet did it, but when you try to melt them and they have crystallized sugar on it, they just fucking burn. Granted, apparently burnt sugar, like caramelized Rice Krispies. Fantastic.
I believe it. I believe it.
Not pretty.
No. Did you try it in a pan?
Yeah, I didn't do it in the
Huh.
microwave. I did it like with butter in a pan, and it just
Huh.
melted the shit out of the sugar.
I don't know what that was. That was my only guess.
Yeah,
That's the only thing I would have
and that's
guessed.
how I did it, and
Right.
still not correct. So I don't know how that woman on her cute blog did it either, but I call bullshit. Food coloring, like fuck the peeps, food coloring, and then sprinkle sugar on top.
Yes.
Next time.
And then I thought Reggie was gonna die.
Well, Reggie and Joy started yelling at each other, and I said, "Hello, breakthrough."
Well, yeah, but I thought.
Oh, when the fire exploded out of the oven, you thought?
No. Whenever Reggie was talking about like staying home when Joy went to the party,
Oh,
I thought the serial killer was gonna come get her.
Oh God, no!
Thank God that was immediately disproven.
Yeah. Then we get another flashback about real people being scarier than monsters, and we go flashback to George actually confronting the serial killer as a child. And then we come to a moment
and that's the first time we get to see his face.
Yes. And then we also come to a moment in that scene that will be a prime point of discussion for me next week.
Yep.
Because George sees a graveling in his house. This is now the third time that pre-death George has seen a graveling. And that's not supposed to be able to happen.
I have a quick comment about that.
Yeah.
She also said as she was walking away something about like people have no idea how close they've come to death with so many times. And I think that's why the gravelings have all been there. She was supposed to die. But I think when they realized she saw them.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. That was you totally understood the point of that scene.
Excellent.
You totally understood the point of that monologue with that scene. But what is unclear is how and why she sees them.
Right.
Which is so big of an issue that I remember that before we started watching Dead Like Me, my dad and I were talking about what did I remember from the show. And one of the top 3 things that I remembered before rewatching the show is that George could see gravelings when she was human. Because it's so completely, it makes her so special and then is never done correctly.
Yep. That's
why that is big topic of conversation for me for the overview of the show.
Perfect. I'm writing.
George was not nice to the serial killer when she raped him, and I'm very glad.
Nicer than she should have been, because I said she should have just let his soul get whatever it deserved and then rape him.
Fair, but that's not doing her job. And she's had so many things that got fucked up with other times that she did it, that I think that in her case, this is one of those things where just like do your job and walk away.
I get it. And you're right. But he deserves to feel pain his entire life.
True. Then we go to Joy and Reggie at the cemetery where Joy is
but like, how did he die?
I don't know.
But
she said, I don't know how he's gonna die and I don't care.
Right. Well, I care, because if it wasn't painful, then it wouldn't have mattered if she pulled his soul out or not before. Like, if he died in his sleep, if he passed out and died, or if he
killed himself.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. He only cut 4 ropes at the beginning.
Right.
And then he killed 4. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. They're at the graveside.
They're at the gravesite. Joy's uncomfortable. This is where we find out that Suzanne smokes a lot of pot. And Reggie is sad because she genuinely like really wanted to see George. She believed that she was going to see George.
I did. It was really funny though. Like, Joy was clearly uncomfortable being in a graveyard on Halloween, and she just kept saying, everything's supposed to happen tomorrow. And Reggie's like, no, Dias de los Muertos. And she's like, yeah, that's tomorrow. That one day is tomorrow.
Correct.
Like, that was so funny.
Correct.
She's right, but I was laughing at how uncomfortable she was.
Yeah. Then we go back to the diner where everyone is sharing their Halloween candy and discussing their day. And Rube does not want any candy, but he wants them to know he still loves them. So he's calling George Peanut again. And she says, I am not your peanut. I'm not that girl. And he said, I know. But you are. Because George doesn't get that you can change and still be somebody's little girl, because that didn't happen. She never moved past the angst with her parents phase into the back to the like your parents still loving you when you've grown out of it phase. Yeah. And then they said that another tradition is to spend Halloween at the cemetery, at the graveyard, and they said, so where are you going? He said, to the graveyard. Like, I just fucking told you. But like, he goes to visit Rosie, and I can't remember his wife's name.
I can't either.
And this fun fact, trivia wise. When he goes to the graveyard, he puts flowers at each of their graves and he sets them with both hands. But then when he puts the stones on top of their grave, he only does it with his left hand on both stones, because it's an ancient Jewish tradition to put stones on great stones when you visit a loved one's death, but only with your left hand.
Oh.
And Mandy Patinkin is Jewish.
Yes. Yes.
So apparently so is Rube. But then again, with a name like Rube Sofer, you probably Jewish.
Are Jewish.
So that is an actual Jewish like grave visiting.
I had no idea.
Thing. I did know that, but then when I read the trivia, I go, oh nope, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. Then George does go to the cemetery, and she leaves some Halloween candy for her sister, who wakes up and sees her, and they have a moment.
That was so sweet.
And it's definitely her and not Millie.
Right.
And then the episode ends with the line, "Dead like me," which the trivia says that it's the last line of the whole series, and it's also the title of the show. But if you remember, season 1 ended with "Dead like us,"
right?
And now it's "Dead like me," and so I'm sure that would have continued to be a thing had the show gone on.
I agree.
So my only trivia were the one about the show not being over, the "Dead like me" and Rube's thing. And then obviously there was like referential trivia, like the Scream painting and the fact that a lot of the scenes were basically copycat scenes from Halloween.
I know stuff.
It's true. You do. But
for the last time for this show.
No, kind of.
Oh, we have to do the movie still.
We still have to do the movie. And we have to wrap up our thoughts and feelings on the whole show as a whole, because this is already 2 hours long almost, and that's just an episode, and we didn't even talk as much shit as we usually do at the beginning. So
what do you want to punch this episode?
Serial killer. Nobody else,
of course,
nobody
1000%.
Like nobody else was shitty in this episode.
Everyone else was excellent in this episode.
Yeah,
I agree.
There's
your MVP.
For the first time, I think ever for me, it was George.
Mine too!
Mine too! For the first time in the whole show.
Yep.
George kicked ass this episode.
She did. Oh, excellent. We're on the same page.
It's because we're in the same room.
It is. How things go.
That's how it works. Yeah, well, you can apologize for this episode being so long first. But you can follow us on all of the social medias at Death and Aliens. Join our Reddit community.
We're having a great time.
I mean, Death and Aliens is a Reddit user that like talks in the Dead Like Me community, but there is a separate Death and Aliens community where we can just talk about the podcast. There's some polls and stuff up there now. So check.
Join the Dead Like Me community. It's really fun too.
It is fun.
The people in there are great.
And if you're joining the podcast because of seeing us on the Dead Like Me community, hi, thanks.
Welcome.
Hopefully you stick around for the next show, unless you hate it, and then like I guess you can leave. But like,
which we will have announced the day this came out.
True.
Because we'll know by then.
Don't hate us. Just hate the show.
Right. Don't hate the player. Hate the game.
Facts. You can follow me on all of the socials at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can follow me at CECloud13.
And we will see you on Wednesday to talk about our feelings on all of season 2 of Dead Like Me.
Bye.
Bye.